The room is quiet, too quiet for a day that's supposed to be loud. Your phone lights up, a few pings, a balloon emoji from someone who does not really know you, a recycled HBD from a number you have not saved. You stare at the screen and it stares back. Cold glass, bright lies. You could answer, you could pretend, you could perform. But something in you refuses. You walk past the mirror, you don't stop. You know the script you're expected to read. Cake, noise, photos, a curated smile uploaded for strangers. You could do it. You've done it before. But today the air is heavy with a truth you can't unknow. This day was built to celebrate you, and somehow it feels like it doesn't even know you. Why does a day meant for you feel meaningless? They'll tell you it's depression. They'll tell you you're ungrateful, cold, broken, dramatic. But what if it isn't sickness? What if it's sight? What if you've grown past the fireworks? What if you've outlived the illusion that noise equals meaning? What if the part of you that once begged to be seen has learned to see? Listen, there's a reason the messages feel empty. There's a reason the candles look like props. There's a reason the smile feels like a mask that no longer fits. You've carried too much truth to keep bowing to plastic rituals. You've learned that applause can't reach the place that hurts. You've learned that a calendar can't crown your worth. And yet, there's another reason you feel nothing. A quieter one. A darker one. The observer in you has become too strong. You stand outside your own life, analyzing it like a stranger. Nothing can move you if you refuse to be moved. So, which is it? Awakening or armor? Maturity or numbness dressed as wisdom? By the end of this video, you will know. You will know why some people like you, feel nothing on their birthday. You will see the machinery beneath the ritual, the mask behind the smile, the bargain hidden inside the song. And you will choose, not between cake and silence, between being performed for and being alive. If you've ever looked at a lit candle and felt only the smoke, stay. This isn't a celebration. This is a reckoning. Once upon a time, celebration was sacred. It wasn't about pictures or posts or proof. It was about ritual, a reminder that you were still alive, still breathing, still connected to something larger than yourself. But somewhere between meaning and marketing, celebration was stolen. Now it's performance. Now it's product. Now, your worth is measured by how loud people clap when you walk into a room. Every candle has become a spotlight. Every wish, a performance for invisible judges. You don't celebrate your existence, you advertise it. And if you don't play along, you're labeled broken, antisocial, ungrateful. But the truth is simpler and far darker. You're not broken, you're just awake. Once, birthdays were a spiritual marking, the circle of a year, the completion of another turn of the earth. Today, they're a marketing opportunity. Corporations know your date of birth better than your friends. Algorithms sing to you before anyone else does. Your name is data. Your day is monetized. You were never supposed to post your celebration. You were supposed to feel it. But the modern world inverted that law. If joy isn't visible, it doesn't count. If no one sees your smile, it never happened. And that's the prison. Performative happiness. You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet disgust when people shout, "Happy birthday," like a command. That hollow smile you give out of obligation. You look around, and suddenly the entire ritual feels like theater. You're the actor, the audience, and the lie. Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask you build to survive in society. The smile you wear so the world doesn't question you. But the more you feed the mask, the hungrier it becomes. You start mistaking attention for affection, noise for connection, celebration for meaning. And slowly, you disappear behind the costume. That's why you feel nothing, not because you lack joy, but because you've seen the machinery behind it. You've seen how society rewards the mask and punishes the mind. You've watched people celebrate themselves louder each year, only to feel emptier afterward. Because deep down, they don't want the cake. They want to be seen. And they think noise is the only way to be noticed. But you've stopped playing. You don't crave the performance anymore. You don't want to decorate the cage just to pretend it's a home. Your silence is not sadness, it's rebellion. Because feeling nothing, in a world addicted to fake joy, isn't a flaw, it's defiance. It's the mind refusing to kneel before illusion. And that's what terrifies them. that you no longer need to pretend. They will call you distant. They will call you cold. Let them. Because only those who have outgrown the noise can finally hear the truth. There comes a point where the noise stops moving you, not because you're empty, because you're full. As consciousness deepens, the spikes flatten. The roller coaster becomes a road. The same song plays, and you've heard it enough times to know the chorus before it begins. Excitement shrinks, clarity grows. The child in you wanted fireworks. The adult in you wants the fuse. This is what happens when the mind outgrows the moment. You stop reacting to the surface. You start reading the structure. You see the mechanism behind the magic trick. Wires, mirrors, misdirection, and the illusion collapses. Not bitter, just obvious. Nietzsche called it a test. Eternal recurrence. If this day repeated forever, would you choose it? Most people need the costume to say yes. Balloons, candles, strangers singing off-key. You don't. Because you've learned to measure a day by its weight, not its decoration. Awareness strips life of glitter, and in the same motion, hands you the steering wheel. Less sparkle, more control. Schopenhauer went deeper. He said there's a blind engine underneath us, the will, pushing, grasping, wanting. It's hungry. It wants praise, proof, applause. And then there's the witness in you, the one that steps aside and watches the hunger without feeding it. When that witness grows, desire weakens. When desire weakens, the party loses power. Not because you hate joy, but because you've stopped renting it from other people. So, yes, the highs flatten. That's what maturity does. It trades sugar for strength. You can still feel joy, but you refuse to beg for it. You can still celebrate, but you won't outsource it to a crowd. This is not numbness. This is precision. Numbness is a blanket that smothers everything at once. Precision is a blade that cuts away the useless and keeps the real. You are not shutting down. You are narrowing focus. You are not dead inside. You are disciplined inside. Look at history. The thinkers we remember, Socrates in the marketplace, Galileo under house arrest, Tesla building lightning out of loneliness, were not chasing confetti. They chased comprehension. They chose pattern over party. They learned to hold their own pulse steady while the world screamed for a show. That's what you're learning. You've seen through the social play, the ritual that says, be loud to be alive. You've noticed how people confuse a spike of attention with a sense of self. You've watched them crash when the lights go off, and on your day, you refuse the crash, you refuse the leash. Call it what it is, advanced emotional intelligence. The ability to feel without being forced. The ability to want without worshiping what you want. The ability to step back from the bait and keep your center. Does it make the day feel dull? Sometimes. Freedom can feel quiet at first. Control can feel plain compared to chaos. But the quiet is where you become unreadable. The plain is where you become powerful. So when the phone buzzes and the chorus starts, you won't flinch. You'll choose what enters your nervous system. You'll decide which moments deserve your pulse. Because when the mind outgrows the moment, the performance ends, and the authorship begins. Self-awareness sounds like evolution, but it has a price no one talks about. You think seeing deeper will free you, and for a while, it does. You stop being fooled, you stop chasing noise. But soon, the same mind that once saved you starts turning on you. It begins dissecting everything, every thought, every emotion, every flicker of joy. You no longer feel, you analyze. And that's when awareness becomes a cage made of glass. You see yourself too clearly to ever fall for the illusion again, but too coldly to truly feel alive inside it. That's the hidden cost. Peace without pulse. Jung warned about this. He said when consciousness expands too fast, the shadow grows restless. The shadow. That emotional, chaotic part of you that wants to cry, to rage, to love without control. You suppress it in the name of strength. You say, I'm fine, I've evolved, I don't need anyone. But deep down, something in you still aches to be seen, not celebrated, just seen. You've mistaken detachment for mastery. But what if this calm is camouflage? What if this numbness isn't power, but protection? Over-analysis kills spontaneous emotion. You've built an internal surveillance system that watches everything you do. You've become both prisoner and guard. Every feeling gets interrogated before it's allowed to exist. And eventually, Nothing passes inspection. That's why laughter feels foreign. That's why love feels suspicious. That's why peace feels like distance. You didn't lose your emotions. You buried them under logic. It's what happens when the observer self, the one that stands outside your experiences, grows too strong. At first, it's liberating. You can see through people, through manipulation, through fake kindness. But the same X-ray vision that cuts through others starts cutting through you. You start doubting your own joy. You start distrusting warmth because you've learned that everything fades, and knowing that kills the magic before it begins. The observer in you protects you from pain, but it also blocks the sunlight. So you walk through life untouched, but also unmoved, safe, but unseen. And the saddest part, you'll convince yourself this is wisdom. You'll call it strength, maturity, even enlightenment. But sometimes it's just fear in disguise, fear of feeling again, fear of being hurt again. You think your numbness means you've transcended emotion. Maybe it means you've only learned to hide from it better than most. Because the truth is, every mind that sees too much eventually longs to unsee, to stop observing, to just be. But once awareness opens its eyes, it never closes them again. You can't unknow the patterns. You can't go back to innocence. So the question becomes, can you live in clarity without killing your capacity to feel? Can you look into life's machinery and still let the music move you? That's the next test. Not to escape numbness, but to walk through it and find something real on the other side. The world claps for those who don't flinch. It worships the ones who look untouchable, calm in chaos, silent under fire. You've seen it, the cool face, the slow heartbeat, the unreadable eyes. They call it power. They call it control. And maybe, for a while, it is. But society has a cruel trick. It glorifies your numbness until it destroys you. You learned early that emotion makes you vulnerable, that showing care invites disappointment, that love can be used against you. So you built armor out of apathy. You became the observer, not the participant, the one who doesn't break, doesn't chase, doesn't feel too much. And the world rewarded you. People respected your distance. They mistook your silence for wisdom. Your detachment became your brand, the stoic, the calm, the one above it all. But the applause was a trap. Because while everyone admired your composure, you slowly disappeared behind it. True stoicism was never about being numb. Marcus Aurelius didn't preach suppression. He preached command. Stoicism means feeling everything, but being mastered by nothing. It means letting the storm pass through you without losing your ground. But somewhere along the way, people twisted stoicism into emotional exile. They turned it into a mask and called it peace. You've done it too, haven't you? You've mistaken emptiness for control. You've told yourself that not caring makes you powerful. But power without connection becomes isolation, and control without purpose becomes prison. Machiavelli understood this balance. He warned, never let emotion rule you, but never destroy it either. Emotion is leverage. It's the signal that tells you what matters. Without it, your decisions are sharp but hollow. You win the game, but you lose yourself. The problem isn't that you feel less. The problem is that the world taught you to treat emotion like weakness. So, you amputated the very thing that made you human. You call it strength. But strength that disconnects you from meaning isn't strength. It's self-erasure. You see, being unreadable was meant to be a choice, not a condition. It's power when you can turn it on and off. It's punishment when you forget how to turn it off at all. And that's the risk you carry now. The slow fade of your inner world, the calm that becomes cold, the composure that becomes distance, the mask that becomes your face. Yes, people respect the unfeeling. They project strength onto them. But behind that respect is loneliness. Behind that power is silence. Society rewards the ghost. But you were never meant to be one. You were meant to own your emotions, not bury them. To stand in control, not in absence. Because once the applause fades and the world stops watching, you'll realize the cost of being untouchable. No one can hurt you anymore, but no one can reach you either. You've seen through the game. You've watched the rituals lose their color. You've felt the silence behind the noise. And it almost convinced you that meaning itself had died. But meaning doesn't die. It only retreats, waiting for you to build it again. This is the point where numbness stops being an ending and starts becoming a beginning. You've burned through the illusions, the applause, the gifts, the fake gratitude posts. What's left now is raw ground. And raw ground is where you start building something real. Stop chasing meaning in occasions. Stop waiting for the calendar to give you permission to feel alive. You don't need a date to validate your existence. You need awareness, the kind that turns ordinary moments into quiet revolutions. Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." The problem isn't that your life lacks meaning, it's that you've been borrowing it from everyone else, from traditions that no longer speak to you, from people who never saw you, from a world that sells you significance one notification at a time. The act of feeling nothing isn't proof that you're broken, it's proof that the borrowed meanings no longer work. It's the reset before the rebuild. It's the moment before you start constructing your own why. Birthdays don't define life. Your presence does. You are not another year older. You are another layer deeper. You've crossed through illusions that most people never question. They're still chasing attention. You're starting to chase truth. That's not depression, that's graduation. So, redefine celebration. Let it be gratitude, not performance. You don't need noise to feel alive. You need stillness, the kind that makes you aware of the pulse beneath your ribs, the quiet persistence of your own mind. The mature form of joy isn't fireworks, it's a candle flame. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't need an audience, it just burns, steady, invisible, real. And when you reach that state, you stop performing happiness and start embodying peace. Maybe that's what all of this was trying to teach you. That losing excitement isn't the same as losing life. That emptiness isn't the absence of meaning. It's the space where you get to write your own. You don't have to feel what they feel. You don't have to celebrate how they celebrate. You don't have to perform your worth for the world to approve it. You only have to recognize it, quietly, relentlessly, without applause. Because the moment you stop chasing validation and start noticing awareness, life stops being a stage and becomes sacred again. So, when your next birthday comes and the noise returns, you'll smile. Not because the world told you to, but because you finally understand. You don't need illusion to feel alive. You only need yourself. There's a strange calm that comes after you've felt everything. After the noise, after the pretending, after the trying. It's quiet, almost too quiet. You stand there, waiting for something to move inside you. But nothing does. And for a moment, it terrifies you. You think, this must be what's wrong with me. But that silence, that stillness, it isn't death. It's the space before rebirth. You've spent so long chasing feeling, the rush, the spark, the sense of being alive. But the truth is, you were never meant to chase it. You were meant to be it, to stop hunting moments that prove your worth and start existing from the place that knows it. When you stop needing the world to make you feel something, you finally start being something. That's the shift. The quiet evolution that no one else will ever see. The same detachment you once called weakness was actually the beginning of control. You stopped waiting for permission to feel. You stopped begging for connection from people who only wanted performance. You stopped tying your self-worth to a date, a text, a voice that never understood you, and what's left is peace. Not the dramatic kind, the real kind, the kind that doesn't need noise to exist. The numbness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. It stripped away everything that wasn't you, the false meanings, the borrowed smiles, the hollow highs. It left you raw, but it also left you free. Now, you can stand in silence and still feel full. Now, you can walk through noise and still feel untouched. You've crossed over, from needing emotion to embodying awareness, from reacting to everything to choosing what deserves your energy, from waiting to feel alive to realizing you already are. That is the moment of power most people never reach. When your peace is no longer conditional. When your mind becomes its own home. When you can look at the same world that once drained you and not flinch. Because when you stop waiting to feel, you start living by something higher than emotion. You start living by clarity. And no one can take that from you. You are not broken. You are beyond their noise. You are proof that stillness can be strength. And silence, the loudest kind of power. You don't need a crowd to confirm your worth. You don't need applause to validate your existence. You don't need to perform joy to prove that you're alive. You are the quiet storm the world forgot to name. And that's your advantage. Because while they chase attention, you build awareness. While they live for noise, you master silence. And in that silence, you become untouchable. Remember, this was never about rejecting emotion. It was about mastering it. You don't run from feeling, you refine it. You don't suppress meaning, you rebuild it. That's what separates you from the world. So, protect your mind like sacred ground. Because everything out there, every feed, every voice, every flashing light, exists to take it from you. To turn your awareness into obedience, your calm into consumption, your peace into performance. Don't let them. Guard your detachment like it's divine. Carry it like armor, not chains. Because the world doesn't need another performer. It needs thinkers. It needs the uncelebrated, the ones who move quietly, see clearly, and build meaning where none existed. If this spoke to you, don't just watch and leave. Subscribe, not as a follower, but as a reminder that you think differently. Join the quiet resistance, the people who refuse to be programmed by noise. Because someday, when the world finally pauses, it'll look for minds like yours and realize you were already awake. You are not unfeeling. You are unshakable. And that is the rarest celebration of all.